Vancouver Fairview.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In 2004, the BC Liberals signed a 10-year agreement that contracted out the handling of our personal and sensitive private medical information to Maximus BC, a subsidiary of a US-based corporation. In March of last year, they extended this agreement for another 5 years, significantly higher, 40% higher than the original terms. At the time, the government assured British Columbians that the contract specified that data storage and access would not occur outside of Canada to mitigate the risk of disclosure under the USA Patriot Act. That act allows the FBI to secretly demand and obtain personal information on anyone from US-owned companies. But last year, the Auditor General reported that monitoring tools meant to identify privacy breaches were not implemented, and the Health Ministry had not ensured that Maximus was complying with two key privacy contract terms. The report states, "We noted that two monitoring tools intended to identify privacy breaches were not implemented as expected, and that the Ministry has not verified that the service provider is complying with two key privacy contract terms." In other words, the Auditor General said that the Ministry failed to enforce them. To the Minister of Health, Honourable Speaker, despite promising British Columbians 10 years ago that safeguards recommended by the Privacy Commissioner were in the contract, your ministry did nothing to enforce these. Will the Minister confirm whether our personal medical information is safe from prying US security forces, or is it already too late?
Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, we take the privacy of health information, all information about British Columbians, very seriously. We work hard to ensure that information is protected, and working with Maximus BC, which is known as Health Insurance BC, dealing with our health insurance data. We work very closely, Madam Speaker. We work with the Information Office of the Commissioner as well to ensure that information is held with the utmost privacy, and we will continue to ensure that in the days to come.
Member for Vancouver Fairview on a supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The fact remains that the Auditor General and the Ministry of Health cannot confirm this. The Auditor General's report stated clearly that the Ministry was relying on self-reporting, and that they could not be assured that the terms were being kept. In other words, we now have 10 years of promise made, promise broken. Honourable Speaker, the Minister responsible for privacy protection quite recently assured British Columbians that our personal health records were stored and accessed only in Canada. He said, and I quote, "We protect the interests of British Columbians by making sure that their data are secure and kept in Canada so that they are not in any way subject to Patriot Act visits by the American government." And yet, the Auditor General said the Ministry of Health was unable to prove this, possibly exposing British Columbians' personal medical, mental health, and pharmaceutical records to US security forces, with potentially very serious consequences for people seeking to enter or work in the US. Honourable Speaker, to the Minister of Citizen Services, how can this government possibly confirm that British Columbians' health data stayed in Canada when both the Health Ministry and the Auditor General can't?
Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The contract with Maximus was signed only after our ministry was assured that the personal information of British Columbians would be protected. And the requirements for the protection of privacy are stringent and onerous, Madam Speaker. These have been top priorities of this initiative since its inception. Data storage and access is based solely in Canada and can only be changed with the province's express consent. All directors on the board of Maximus BC are resident Canadians, and there is no remote access from outside of Canada. Madam Speaker, we take the privacy of medical information of British Columbians very seriously and work hard to protect that information.
Here.